welcome back. Just like to briefly talk about this interface thing because I want to jump ahead to a future unit. The issue was I wanted to make shops work for any of my items, in this case just weapons and armor, but later spells, all that jazz. And so to do that, I need my shop to be able to take one thing that could be a weapon, it could be armor, it could be a spell. Um, and so I've made this interface, which is kind of an interface. Anything that implements it can be in an array containing it, like in my weapon shop, I've got my item array of get weapon inventory. This is okay because I said weapon implements item, and I'm allowed to do that as long as my little like method headers here, as long as the class has a get name method that takes no arguments and returns a string, and has a get cost method that takes no arguments and takes an int. Now I require these to make the shop work, and so I'm just going to make sure that my weapon, armor, and spell classes all have these, which they do. Well, I don't have spell yet, but to be made. So back to the shop, I've done a little bit of work since last I videoed. The main bit being this run shop thing that returns an item. So it can return any type of item. So this will work no matter if my shop object is a shop that sells weapons, a shop that sells armor, or a shop that sells anything else, spells, whatever. I've got it taking an item, which is the current item for the player, because right now I've got it so they can only have one weapon, one armor. This will have to be a bit different for spells. Maybe it doesn't matter. I may need to do something a little different if it's a spell. But for right now, it'll work perfect for weapons and armor. And so let's do the run shop. So your standard thing with the shop, I've got a while true loop, so it'll loop forever and unless it returns something. So it's just a handy way to get it so they can keep having the shop menu until they like successfully purchase something or decide they want to exit. So it'll print the intro. Like we said, every shop has an intro. Welcome to the weapon shop. Welcome to the armor shop. You get more detailed, whatever. And then here's a little bit of magic. So every shop also has an inventory containing all the items that it sells. And so what I'm doing here is I'm looping through, I've got an index, which is the index in the array I'm talking about. It starts at 0 and goes to 1 less than the inventory's length. And just for everything in the inventory, I'm going to print a tab character. And then the index that I'm going to use to select that, if I want to buy that, I'll print 0 if I want the first thing in the array, 1 if I want to buy the second thing in the array. And then I've just got like just some text so things aren't jammed together. And then it'll print the inventory object there. Now, I've made sure that weapon and armor have 2 string methods. So this will just print the name and title. Hopefully armor has it. Anyway, weapon does. It might not be an awful idea to maybe change this to like, or this is, yeah, just because I might not always want to print out cost if I want to print out my character's status, so I may want to change that later. So maybe I'll fix that right now. I'll make my 2-string just do this, and then all I'm going to do is get this, delete that, and in my shop here, I'm going to just get it so it prints out. So right now, this will currently print out the name and how much damage it does. And then I'm going to also get it to print out that, plus the current object I'm talking about's get cost method, which will work just fine. All right, so we've printed out everything. And then after we've printed out all the objects, like if you look here, this is what it'll look like. Welcome to the weapon shop. It prints out the index, the dash, the name of the thing, dash, how much damage it does, and then the cost. It'll be different for the armor shop. It would say like protection or something. Then it'll also print right at the very end something at the length of the shop, so not in the inventory. It'll say press 3 to exit the shop. It'll also give a little gold display, so that's what's going on here. Notice in main I made player a static member of the class, and it's not private, so I can access it from other classes. So that's just an easy way for me to access stuff I need in the shop class and stuff. So in this case, I'm going to get my player's gold by doing the name of the class where the object is, dot the name of the object, in this case player, and the method I want it to use, get gold. Which, by the way, I also added that to player because players need gold. So I added that as a field, and have a little thing so it can spend his gold, and set weapon, which will be important later when we're using the shop, because once we get the weapon, we want to equip it. We want to be able to use it. I also got a get gold, which is just a getter, and that's about it. So if we go back to shop here, I say, what would you like to buy? And then I use this get num method from my main method. If you remember, that was just this fancy way right here of getting a number between a min and a max. That's why it says enter a number. This guarantees it won't let the user enter something that is not between the min and the max, which is really useful for me. So again, notice how I use it. I use the name of the class it's declared in, and then dot, the name of the method, and then whatever information it does. And I want them to select a number between 0 and inventory.length. Inventory.length, meaning they want to exit. So first thing I do, if they pick inventory.length, if they want to exit, I return null. That ends the method. And null is just kind of an empty object that's not equal to anything. And I'm just using that as a symbol that they did not purchase anything. So it's sort of a flag, like returning -1, like it's not there. They did not buy anything. Else if the weapon they're trying to buy, if its cost is less than the item they already have's cost, then it'll print the thing they got is no better than your current weapon. I don't know if I tried that. Yeah, I tried to buy a Bakken after I bought something better, and it says a Bakken is no better than your bronze sword is. That's what's going on here. Your thing you're trying to buy is no better than the current thing you own. And then it just waits 1.5 seconds for the user to read it. And then otherwise, another situation that might occur, notice I've dealt with, they want to leave the shop. They're trying to buy something that makes no sense for them. Another situation that can come up is they try to buy something they don't have enough money for. And then it'll say you do not have enough money or enough gold to buy the thing they're trying to buy. Inventory choice, so the thing in the array at the index they picked, that's get name method. And that'll wait 1.5 seconds too. And I think I've done that example as well. When I tried to buy the cutlass and only had 20 gold, it says you don't have enough gold to buy the cutlass. Oh, yeah, I've fixed that so it doesn't do this anymore. Anyway, if they're not trying to exit and it makes sense for them to buy the item and they have enough money, we may as well let them buy it. So that's what's going on here. It'll say you bought the whatever it happens to be. You bought the bronze sword in this particular case, in my example. And then remember, I got to access the player again, which is in the main class. So I do main.player to access that object. And I want to use his spend gold method. So I do the spend gold method. And the amount of gold I want to spend is the thing they're trying to buy, which is inventory at the index they selected, dot get cost. And that'll just go to the object and return its cost. So that is running the shop, and that'll work for weapons or armor. So then when I go back to main, and I will want to make a weapon shop object. So I did shop, weapon shop equals new shop. I say welcome to the weapon shop, which is not very inspired, but there you go. And then for the inventory for the shop, I decided to put that in the weapon class, remember? And so it was a static method, so I got to refer to it with the name of the class. Dot get weapon inventory. And that just calls this guy right here and fills the shop up, or gives it these things in its inventory. So back in main, we create the player object, get them to select a name, create a new player with that name. Then while it's true, we go into the town. My town intro just says welcome to the town. Then it says what would you like to do, and has all these goodness as options. Weapon shop and armor shop. Currently I just have the weapon shop implemented. Here's how it works. I'm saying weapon, the new weapon they're buying, is equal to whatever the weapon shop spits out when I do the run shop method and give the player's current weapon. If that current new weapon is not equal to null, so if they, remember, it returns null if you tried to exit the shop and did not exit by buying something. So if it's not equal to null, they must have actually successfully bought something. And so I'm going to do player.setWeapon equal to the new weapon. So remember that new weapon is what the shop class's run shop returned. So that must mean they must have hit this else statement and returned what they were trying to buy. So back at main, it wasn't null because they actually bought it. And so we'll do player.setWeapon new weapon. So back in player here, we've got, remember the player has a weapon field, and we can just set that. So it takes a weapon and just sets the field to whatever the argument is right here. Sorry, back at main. And then I've got it printing the weapon, which I do not need to do. I think that was just a check just to make sure it was working. Anyway, let's make an armor shop. So that took a while to make the weapon shop. I wonder how long it'll take to make the armor shop. So I'm going to copy and paste this. I'm going to change it to armor. That's going to be a armor, new armor. I want to do armor, an armor shop, player.get armor. And if new armor is not null, I want to do set their armor to the new armor. Well, this is mostly working, except we need an armor shop, so why don't we deal with that first? I wonder how hard that'll be. Wait a second, we can just do this. We can make a shop, armor shop now, and have that equal a new shop, and then have a super inventive intro. That's what I'm here for, the boundless creativity. And then we should do a get armor inventory in the armor class, which I already did. So right here, we've got a static method, which remember we'd access by using the name of the class, and it'll have 4 armors. It returns a new armor array, and then just between these curly brackets, I just have my 4 new armors separated by commas. If I wanted, which might make more sense to you, I could just say armor A1 equals this. And then just have it be A1. Same thing, exactly the same thing. I'm just being lazy and not creating a reference for it because it's just going to end up in this array anyway. But you can if you want. It might make things easier to understand. So these could all be just like return new armor, and then in the curly brackets just have like A1, A2, A3. Anyway, so we got our get armor inventory. Let's use it. So remember, we got to use the name of the class because it's a static method. Dot get armor inventory, and then we're good there. Inventory. Go back to here, and then we're going to need a set armor class. If I click on this and hit Alt Enter or Option Return, if you're on a Mac, it'll jump me into the player class and set it up. So I've got the method header already, public void set armor, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to say, or maybe armor equals new armor. Done. Nice and easy. So that'll just set the player's armor field to the thing they just bought. And so now if I were to run the game, I should have a functional armor shop. Ooh, I think that'll work. Let me just double check that it'll let me select A. So that should be good. My hero's name is Bosdet, and I will go to the armor shop and I forgot to make the toString method, which I will do very quickly. So if I go into armor, by the way, the reason it's saying something ridiculous like this is all objects you make have a default toString method that says the type of class they are. It's the armor class in the com.company folder at this memory address. This is a big hexadecimal number and says where it's living in the probably virtual RAM, which I don't really care about. So I'm going to change that into a better toString method. And a toString method is just public string toString and takes no parameters. If you want to get fancy, it doesn't really matter unless you're going to misspell something. You can put that in there and that'll just do a little compiler check to make sure you're actually overriding a method that already exists. As long as I spelt it right, we should be good. Right now it's yellow, so that probably means it's happy with me. All right, so I'm going to return name, and then maybe I'll exit the shop just so I can make it look the same, or I could go to weapon to get it so it looks the same. Where's my toString? So it looks like this is what I did for weapon. I'm going to make it look comparable for armor. So I think this one is protection or something like that, and I'll just make this protection. So if I go rerun this sucker, and go to the armor shop, notice it's all looking pretty good. I could play around and try and get it so everything's lined up nicely. That is certainly an option. If you're really interested in that, you could learn how to use the printf method, print formatted string. But I'm not going to be too picky about that. Anyway, in the meantime, I'm going to buy me a leather armor and sign off for now. Thanks for listening. We have functional armor shops.